Well, it just seems to me that if it is true, if what you say is true about, and I'm not going to argue with it, but if what you say is true about Russia's escalatory actions in Ukraine, I don't understand why it is that you say, or why it is that NATO putting together a rapid reaction force to station close by so that it can respond to crises like this in the future
Respond
is
the key,
not
because
is
respond is
not
the
a
key
problem.
term there. That's a defensive
But-
measure.
but
Wait,
it's a
let me finish, Matt.
But wait, well, let me finish the question though. It may be a defensive in nature, but as you pointed out, Ukraine isn't a member of NATO.
Correct.
And you didn't want to get into escalatory actions that you've seen Russia take with regards to countries that are members of NATO,
Matt,
and which Article 5 would apply to.
What,
So that's
what NATO has done, everything that we have done with NATO since Russia's intervention into Ukraine has been of a defensive measure to be able to protect NATO and our members, and also working together to help countries like Ukraine. There is nothing confrontational about it. It is not designed to confront anyone. That's not how it's being used. That's not how it's designed. In no way, I just don't understand logically how you can look at what something NATO is doing to protect our countries and compare it in any way to Russia sending, surface-to-air missile systems across the border into Ukraine, which are, by definition, an offensive weapon. Those are just categorically different things, Matt, and you're buying into the Russian propaganda if you equate them.
No,
quite frankly.
well, no.
Well, you
just
are
trying
actually, I think.
No,
The
I just
tone of the
didn't-
question does.
Well, but you say our countries.
NATO.
Yeah, and Ukraine is not a NATO member.
I
So
understand
so
that.
I'm just so the point of my question is, why is it that you can't see, or why do you reject out of hand the Russian complaint that this is the creation of
Because
a
there's
Russian
nothing
reaction
offensive.
force?
There's nothing
is
offensive about a rapid reaction force. It's a defensive tool. How can that be threatening to Russia?
Is it? Well,
How can a defensive tool be threatening to Russia?
Not necessarily threatening to Russia, but provocative. And that's what that's the point. And I'm not buying into anyone's propaganda. And I think that's the whole point.
I actually think the tone of your questions on these exercises has been a little bit. I think there's absolutely no equivalence between countries taking steps to protect themselves, their partners, and their territory against someone who is sending arms and troops and men over the border into another country. They're wholly different things. No one's going to sit by and not stand up for our principles and say, "Go ahead, Russia. We're not going to take any steps to protect ourselves."
Marie, you guys object to other countries' objections about your military exercises all the time, and you think that they're perfectly legitimate. You say they're perfect. Your concerns are perfectly. That their concerns
Every case is different.
are not legitimate.
The reason our exercises are accepted, they are annual, we announce them well in advance, and they are transparent. The Russians have used military exercises to cover activities they are taking very close to the Ukrainian border, to hide actions they are planning to take inside Ukraine. They have used them as cover for that, not transparently, on very short notice. They're wholly different things.
Okay.
Moving on.